Xenos was a poor orphan healer who got kicked out of his party for being useless. However, when he opens his own clinic, he realizes that he's actually an S-ranked medic and ends up rizzing all his hot patients. It all begins in the kingdom of Herzeth, where healers are a crucial part of the economy, and because of that, only licensed healers were allowed to have clinics. However, deeper in the slums, an unlicensed healer, Xenos, is running an illegal clinic where he treats monsters. After he is done checking on a patient, Xenos tells his hot assistant, Lily, that he's going on a house call. So Lily tells him to return soon so he can demolish her cheeks.
Yeah, boy.
While Xenos is out, 3 hot demi-human baddies show up to see the hot doctor and start fighting with each other over his mighty zinger. Noticing the commotion, Lily shows up and angrily tells them that this is a communist household, so everyone gets to have Xenos' mighty zinger.
It should have been me, not him!
Meanwhile, Xenos finishes his job early and is on his way home when he passes by a monster girl crouching in pain. Before he can help her out, a rude nobleman shows up and asks her why she's not working. The girl addresses him as master and reveals that her stomach was aching, so she went to the clinic. This infuriates the man further, so he starts beating the girl, telling her that a slave shouldn't be visiting clinics. As the man drags the girl away, Xenos decides to follow them to make sure she's okay. Soon, they arrive at a graveyard, where the man unleashes his inner Ronaldo and kicks the shoddy like a football, before telling her that she won't get food today if she doesn't work. Just then, the girl suddenly goes feral and attacks the nobleman, leaving him gravely injured. Moments later, Xenos shows up, and the man begs him to rescue him by deleting his rogue slave girl. Just then, the girl attacks them, but Xenos acts fast and dodges her attack. The man once again urges Xenos to yeet the girl, but he tells him that he's a healer, so he doesn't believe in taking someone's life. Infuriated, the nobleman tells Xenos that a slave's life isn't worth saving, which gives Xenos a flashback of his traumatic past when he was treated as a subhuman by the people he called friends. Just then, the girl throws a huge rock at Xenos, but he easily deflects the attack using magic, which shocks the man since he has never seen a healer do something like that. As they start fighting, Xenos notes the girl is a lot faster than an average monster, so he throws her against the building to slow her a little. This gives Xenos enough time to diagnose the girl, and after finding out she's possessed by a ghost, he quickly exorcises the spirit and heals her broken leg. Seeing this, the nobleman orders Xenos to treat him, but he tells the scumbag that it's going to cost him a bag of coins and the slave girl. Not wanting to die, the man reluctantly pays Xenos, and after receiving the treatment, he quickly hauls out. An hour later, the slave girl wakes up and learns that Xenos is her new master, so she introduces herself as Till, but Xenos tells her that he's more interested in seeing what's behind her plot armor. Hearing this, Till wonders if she's about to be slapped by a fat sausage. But to her surprise, Xenos examines her and says that her stomach is in pain because she hasn't been farting. After healing Till, he tells her that it's time for her to pay him back and shows her a map of a place. Till recognizes the place and tells Xenos that she can take him there. And once they arrive, she helps him find the herbs that he had been looking for. After that, Xenos tells Till that she has repaid her debt and tears away the slave contract, so from now on, her life belongs to her. Overwhelmed, Till tells Xenos that she's going to live her life to the fullest, and then someday, she'll come and visit him. After parting ways with Till, Xenos returns to his underground clinic, where he is greeted by his cuddle crew, who happily welcome him with food. However, life wasn't always like this for Xenos, as he grew up on the streets and had no one to call family until one day, an adventurer named Aston showed up and took him in his party. Grateful for the opportunity, Xenos decided to work hard by learning healing magic so he could help Aston. However, one day, Aston called Xenos and threw a gold coin towards him, before telling him that he was no longer needed. Shocked, Xenos asked Aston if he was pranking him, but the tomato head arrogantly told Xenos that he only took him in his party because he wanted a human shield. However, now that they are strong and famous, they no longer need him. Left with no choice, Xenos went outside to look for a place to sleep, where he witnessed a fun-sized elf girl getting diddled, but when she started to resist, the diddler accidentally stabbed her too hard.
What do you mean by that?
Just then, Xenos stepped in and offered to buy the elf girl, and the greedy pigs agreed since she was no longer useful to them. Once they were gone, Xenos quickly healed the girl, who stood in shock, and asked Xenos if he was Jesus. Xenos then introduced himself, and in return, the girl tearfully told him that her name is Lily. After learning Lily had nowhere to go, Xenos realized that she's so small that she only needs one popcorn, so he took her to a local restaurant and ordered food only for her since the broke loser couldn't afford 2 bowls of soup. While Lily ate, Xenos wondered what he should do with her since he couldn't imagine leaving her at the orphanage where the authorities had ditty parties on the regular. Just then, a man walked inside the restaurant with an injured arm, and Xenos immediately came to his aid. After telling him that he had a deep bullet wound, Xenos chanted the word heal, which instantly fixed his arm. The man was so shocked that he asked Xenos if he was Yaru's good twin. After that, the man paid Xenos and walked away, leaving him stunned, since this was the first time he made money off of his powers. He then asked Lily if it's okay for him to accept money for helping people, and she told him that it's actually quite normal. After being validated by a cutie, Xenos announced that he was going to open an underground healing clinic. However, Xenos knew that a broke orphan would never get a license, so he took Lily and arrived at an abandoned part of the town where he could easily run an illegal business. After spotting a decrepit mansion, Xenos told Lily that it would be perfect for his clinic, but she shuddered in horror and told Xenos that abandoned places are filled with scary-looking wraiths. However, Xenos told Lily that being dead is better than being broke, and with that, they walked inside. Suddenly, a hot wraith appeared and scared the heebie-jeebies out of Lily. However, Xenos calmly chanted, heal, and locked the wraith in one spot. He then told Lily that he slimed 1,000 wraiths when he was adventuring with Aston and his party. Then, turning towards the wraith, Xenos told her that they can all coexist in peace, but this triggered the wraith named Carmela, and she attacked Xenos once again. However, Xenos easily deflected the attack since healing magic is potent against the undead. After one more futile attack, Carmela gave up and told Xenos that he can have the first floor, but the second floor belongs only to her. A month later, Xenos got the place all cleaned up and even stitched a nurse outfit for Lily so she could attract customers who would have something suspicious in their hard drive. Then, one day, the guy who got shot before showed up with his sister, called Zofia, who had an ugly wound on her arm. As Xenos examined the wound, he told Zofia that the magic gun she was shot with contained a special poison which is decaying the flesh around her arm. After diagnosing the problem, Xenos told Zofia that he would take 1,000,000 coins to amputate her arm, which ticked her off since she was Zofia the Tornado. When Xenos heard the name, he immediately realized that he was sitting with one of the 3 bosses of the underworld. What's more, Zofia had a reputation for sliming greedy merchants, so Xenos understood why she was pissed. However, he bluntly told Zofia that he doesn't care about her reputation, because he's never working for free again. Still frustrated, Zofia demanded to know why he was charging so much, so Xenos revealed that after chopping her arm, he was going to regenerate a new one for her, which usually takes a lot of time. This shocked Zofia, as she had never heard of a healer who could regenerate limbs. Meanwhile, Xenos was confused by her reaction, since he had assumed all the big shot healers could do what he does. Despite her doubts, Zofia got on the surgery table and watched as Xenos summoned a scalpel out of the blue. Bamboozled by it, Zofia asked what he was doing, and Xenos casually revealed that he could create blades with his mana, which once again shocked Zofia since not even Lady Tsune could pull this level of crap. After the amputation, Xenos focused on building a new arm for Zofia, which required a lot of precision and mana. Once the surgery was successful, Zofia told Xenos in amazement that he was no less than a god. Right at that moment, Carmela showed up and scared the living daylights out of Zofia. Xenos then casually revealed that he lives with a wraith, and on that cue, Carmela told Xenos that she was hoping he'd fail so Zofia's brother could slime him. Xenos just sighed and told his guests not to worry about Carmela since she is a huge softie deep down. This made Carmela chuckle, and she told Xenos that from now on, she would send her gang members to his clinic for treatments. A week later, Lily prepared tea for everyone, but after getting her tongue burnt, Carmela hauled back to her room. Lily then told Xenos that thanks to Zofia, they have been getting a lot of patients. Xenos agreed with Lily, and speculated that Zofia's faction must be getting into a lot of wars with the other gangs of the slum. While Xenos was in the middle of his sentence, the door broke open, and in walked Linga, the gang leader of the werewolves. Xenos immediately knew who Linga was, as she is the reason that your father lost all his money and his left nut on gambling. When Xenos asked Linga what she wanted, she told him that she's unable to defeat Zofia because he keeps healing her gang members. Before Xenos could talk sense into Linga, she rushed to behead him, but Xenos immediately activated his defense magic, which neutralized all of her attacks. Overcoming her shock, Linga then ordered the werewolves to destroy the clinic. While they were at it, Carmela appeared and was ready to slime everyone for destroying her home. However, Xenos told her to stop, since he didn't believe in bloodshed, and Carmela reluctantly returned to her room. However, Linga interpreted the whole scene as Xenos commanding the Wraith, which impressed her so much that she fell to her knees and apologized for being rude to him. A few days later, one of the orcs showed up at the clinic, and Xenos sighed in frustration, knowing what was coming next. The orc then told Xenos that it was regarding his boss, Lo Wo Wei, who Xenos immediately recognized as the third leader of the slums who rose to power after selling mana stones. So, before agreeing to check on Lo Wo Wei, Xenos asked the orc if his boss was reasonable. The ogre at once told Xenos that Lo Wo Wei was the most intelligent person he knew, which filled him with relief. He then recalled how Zofia and Linga had been dropping gifts and mending the area around the clinic for his convenience, so he agreed to proceed with the case and asked the ogre why Lo Wo Wei isn't with him. In response, the ogre revealed that his clinic has been crawling with lizard men and werewolves, so it would be unwise for Lo Wo Wei to step into enemy territory. Understanding the situation, Xenos asked the orc if Lo Wo Wei is in serious condition, and so he told him that she cannot get up. Without wasting another minute, Xenos got up and followed the orc to an underground cave where Lo Wo Wei greeted him by saying that she had heard a lot about him. However, instead of being glad, Xenos found himself getting frustrated, since he didn't want his illegal clinic to get busted down. Lo Wo Wei then asked Xenos if he could tell why she could not get up from her seat, and Xenos wondered if it was because she had too much fun from the back door. However, not wanting to get cracked by the orcs for insulting their boss, Xenos decided to examine Lo Wo Wei by scanning her abdomen. This shocked Miss Tikka Masala, and she told Xenos that it's unheard of for a healer to examine a patient by just looking at them from afar. Once again, Xenos was surprised by this, since he couldn't imagine how the other healers were healing their patients. Ignoring everything, Xenos focused his attention on Lo Wo Wei and told her that there's a mana stone inside her belly. Lo Wo Wei then told Xenos that he was correct, and she actually ate the mana stone, believing it was a rice ball. Annoyed by her behavior, Xenos decided to go back home, until Lo Wo Wei revealed that the mana stone would explode inside her belly if she left her chair. Moreover, her men had decided to die with her. After Xenos learned everything, he asked Lo Wo Wei what she wanted from him, so she told him that she wanted to donate all her wealth to him because she knew that he treated the orphans free of cost. As Lo Wo Wei threw the key towards Xenos, he asked her if she had recently swallowed the mana stone. When she confirmed it, he swiftly made a cut inside her belly and removed the mana stone. Lo Wo Wei was so impressed by his skills that she told Xenos that from now on, the orcs will protect him, which annoyed Xenos further since he wanted nothing to do with these hood rats. Now in the present, Xenos catches Lily pouting and asks her why she is sad, so she tells him that she doesn't like the constant visits by Lo Wo Wei, Linga, and Zofia. Hearing this, Xenos admits that they have been visiting him a lot, and while he is thinking about the reason behind it, Carmela tells him that it's because they are all in love with him. Lily agrees with the Wraith, but Xenos bluntly tells Carmela that she's got it all wrong. Lily, on the other hand, confesses that she feels extremely threatened by the other baddies since they've got all the plot while she is built like a flat board. However, Carmela quickly assures Lily that she has the type of body that would make all the billionaires go crazy. After that, she tells Xenos that soon there will be a fight between all the gangs over his sausage, which annoys Xenos since he just wants to heal people in peace. Later in the noon, the baddies meet up in an arena to settle the matter over who should get to rule the slums. Before the fight, Xenos and Lily show up, and he tells them that he's not here to stop them, but actually wants them to fight till they're satisfied. While Lily looks at Xenos with confusion, the other girls are happy, believing they have Xenos' approval. Zofia then tells her rivals that whoever survives the fight will get to have Xenos' PP. Upon hearing this, Lily asks Xenos if he's really going to give his sausage to the winner, so he tells her that his V-card is not for sale. Soon, the fight begins, and after hours of kicking and punching, the goons and their bosses realize that no matter what they do, their wounds are healing up instantly. At that moment, Xenos reveals that he has been healing everyone, which shocks the crowd, since no healer can heal so many people at once. This also makes them realize that the fight will never end, as Xenos states that he will keep healing them and charging them for all his hard work. Upon hearing this, the girls start laughing, as they realize their beef is silly. Seeing everyone laughing and joking, Lily tells Xenos that he can probably fix the issues between North and South Korea. Xenos then reveals that his mentor once told him that the best kind of healer is someone who improves the world. This impresses Lily so much that she confesses her feelings, but Xenos thinks that she likes him as an elder brother, which bums her out. Meanwhile, in the royal capital, news of the alliance between the werewolves, orcs, and lizardmen reaches the commander's ears. Concerned by this, he summons his subordinate, Krishna, and explains that the kingdom's stability depends on a strict social hierarchy. So if the lower classes begin to unite, they could challenge the authority of the aristocracy and threaten the kingdom's existing order. He then reveals that a mysterious third party was responsible for bringing the three factions together, so Krishna assures the commander that she will apprehend that person immediately. A few days later, Zofia shows up at the clinic with another injury and tells Xenos that she was attacked by Vice Commander Krishna when she was trying to rob an aristocrat. Upon hearing this, Xenos tells the gender-bender Robin Hood to calm it down, while Carmela thinks that Krishna is coming for him, but Xenos dismisses this, believing that a royal knight wouldn't waste her time on him. That evening, Krishna is snooping around in the slums and is appalled by how friendly everyone seems. She then threatens a lizard man to tell her about the person who fixed the slums, but he tells her to piss off. Just then, Zofia appears, and so Krishna runs away since she doesn't want to be slimed by the lizard men. Once she's at a safer distance, Krishna wonders how Zofia's wound healed so fast. She then stumbles upon Xenos' clinic, and while she's asking for the way out, Lily appears with tea. Noticing her elven ears, Krishna takes out her magic gun and shoots Xenos with it. While Xenos is covered in purple gas, Lily frantically comes to his aid, which confuses Krishna since she thought that Xenos had kidnapped Lily. However, Lily quickly tells the idiot that she is gravely mistaken, as Xenos is actually the one who rescued her from diddlers. Upon hearing this, Krishna apologizes to Lily and reveals that her only flaw is having a bad temper. Just then, Xenos addresses Krishna and says that she also sucks at aiming her gun, which shocks her since she was sure that she had slimed Xenos. Xenos then tells Krishna that he protected himself using defensive magic, which amazes Krishna, and so she asks Xenos if he is a skilled sorcerer who devoted himself to studying magic. When Xenos reveals that he took magic classes from an Indian YouTuber, Krishna relaxes a bit and introduces herself. Upon hearing her name, Xenos and Lily are shocked, while Carmela starts giggling, knowing she was right. Soon after that, Krishna reveals to Xenos that she is here to capture the guy who solved the long-standing rivalry between the three factions of the slums. Xenos, however, tries to stop Krishna from oversharing, reminding her that she's supposed to be on a secret mission, but in response, Krishna tells Xenos that he looks like a trustworthy man, so she doesn't really care. Xenos lets out an exhausted sigh, while Krishna casually tells him that she believes the mediator is actually a devil, since there's no other explanation for how he could have solved such a serious problem. Before things escalate, Xenos tells Krishna that she should return to her mission, but the moron insists on staying over since she is too tired to work. In the end, Xenos tells Krishna that she can have the spare bed, while Lily serves them tea to show Krishna that the waifu spot is taken by her. After that, she takes a seat on Xenos' lap and makes him pat her, while Carmela laughs to herself. She then tells Xenos that Lily is trying to tell Krishna that she can't join the Xenos harem. Meanwhile, Lily gets disappointed when she realizes that Krishna doesn't give a crap about her attempts, so she flirtatiously tells Xenos that she's not gonna let him sleep tonight.
2 hours later.
A few hours later, is greater than Lily is fast asleep, so Xenos tucks her to bed and returns to have a conversation with Krishna. Upon seeing him, Krishna asks Xenos if he knows a healer that lives around here and can regenerate limbs. Before Xenos can tell her anything, Krishna reveals that only top-tier healers or saints are capable of doing that, and Xenos realizes that it's not wise to tell Krishna about his healing magic. He then asks Krishna why she's asking such questions, so she tells him that she had a fight with Zofia, and she was fairly certain that she had left a serious wound on her arm which would make her a handicap, but when she saw Zofia in the slums, her hand was completely fine. After hearing this, Xenos remains quiet, so Krishna changes the topic, and once again starts yapping about how she's excited to catch the evil mediator. So, out of curiosity, Xenos asks Krishna why she hates seeing peace in the slums, and she reveals that her mom used to feed the poor losers of the slum, but then one day, she was found murdered. Upon investigation, Krishna found out that a beggar had unalived her mom because he wanted her wedding ring. From then on, she developed a deep hatred for the slum, and worked hard to become the vice commander of the Knights. She then tells Xenos that people gave her the nickname of Iron Rose because she hasn't smiled since the day her mother's dead body was found. The next day, Krishna leaves to investigate further, and while she is gone, Zofia comes to Xenos with another injury. Just then, Krishna returns and immediately pulls her gun at both Zofia and Xenos, who tries to tell Krishna that she's got everything wrong. Hearing this, Carmela tells Xenos that he sounds like a cheating husband, while Lily tells Krishna that Zofia just got lost and came to ask Xenos for directions. Unfortunately, Krishna doesn't buy the story and asks Zofia to reveal the identity of the fraudulent mediator who is manipulating them all. Scoffing at the accusation, Zofia asks Krishna if she knows that the slavery business is being operated by an aristocrat. Upon hearing this, Krishna calls Zofia a bit fat liar, stating that a nobleman would never do such a disgusting thing. Zofia smiles and tells Krishna that she knew she'd never listen to people like her, which pisses off the knight, so she asks Zofia to give her the name of the aristocrat. Zofia then tells Krishna that it's Calendar, which only makes Krishna scoff harder, as she informs Zofia that Calendar is a respectable man who loves educating orphans. Zofia gives Krishna a sad smile and tells her that she judges people based on the status they're born with, whereas the mediator never judged them and was only concerned with helping them. With that, Zofia fires the final shot by telling Krishna that her sense of justice is flawed because she believes that only people from the slums are capable of evil. Enraged by this, Krishna raises her gun to shoot Zofia, but Xenos quickly shields her with his body and tells Krishna that he's the mediator. Krishna refuses to believe Xenos, but tells him that since he's aligning himself with the demi-humans and the mediator, she will no longer be staying with him. Moments later, Krishna arrives at Calendar's mansion to check if Zofia was telling the truth or not. As Calendar happily shows Krishna around, she becomes sure that Zofia was lying until she decides to check the mansion again, but this time, she tells the fat Chungus she's going to the bathroom so she can snoop around. Soon enough, Krishna comes across a hidden well, which takes her to a cellar where she discovers multiple orphans locked up. Before she can rescue them, Calendar attacks her with a magic gun. Just as Krishna is about to see the pearly gates, Zofia and Xenos show up to rescue her. Upon seeing them, Calendar wickedly states that nobody would care he deletes trashy losers like them. As he fires the gun, Xenos uses defense magic, which scares the crap out of the chair bender, and he instantly starts begging for mercy. Using the limiter on the gun, Xenos fires at the fat noble, which leaves him in nothing but his Tarzan-themed undies. He then checks up on Krishna and finds her pretty banged up. As he starts regenerating her limbs, Krishna realizes that Xenos wasn't lying about being the mediator. She then tells Xenos that he's a hero while she's just a failure. But Xenos reminds Krishna that she risked her life for the orphans, and that makes her a true hero. Later on, Xenos tells Zofia that it's time for them to return to the shadows, and as they're heading back, Krishna asks him why he saved her. So, he tells her that he wants to crack her and take all of her money, which finally makes Krishna laugh out loud. Aston had always dreamt of becoming a big-shot adventurer, so one day, he came to the slums to find a perfect slave who would do free chores for him. After spotting Xenos, he asked him if he would like to become an adventurer, but the poor loser replied that people from the slums couldn't become adventurers. Even though Aston knew that was true, he told Xenos that he would give him an opportunity to rise above his station. After that, he asked Xenos if he knew any magic, and when he revealed he knew basic healing magic, Aston couldn't help but laugh, because only aristocrats were allowed to learn healing magic, so he assumed that Xenos was lying. However, since he still wanted a free slave, he took Xenos under his wing, but as they rose to prominence, Aston started getting annoyed with Xenos and thought of him as nothing but a freeloader. In reality, Xenos was the one who was healing his injuries during the battles. Eventually, Aston fired Xenos, as he thought having a loser from the slums looked bad for his image. In the present, Aston and his party, called the Golden Phoenix, arrive at a cave to hunt some fire foxes, so they can offer their hides as a gift to an aristocrat named Fennel. Feeling confident, they enter the cave and are instantly attacked by the fire foxes, who give them a beating of a lifetime. After facing a near-death situation, Aston lashes out at his party members for performing so poorly in the cave. In response, a fellow member named Guile tells Aston that he thinks they never got injured before because of Xenos and his healing powers. However, the cocky tomato refuses to believe that, and instead suggests they need to find a new healer who isn't from the slums. After 10 days of recovery, Aston and his team of donkeys return to the cave with a healer called Umin. Before the big action, Umin asks Aston why they hired a B-rank healer when the Golden Phoenix is famous for coming out of battles unscathed. However, in response, Aston rudely tells Umin to focus on her job and prove to him that she is capable of being in his party. After that, they enter the cave, where they are immediately ambushed by the fire foxes. And because of this, Aston's mage, Andres, gets hit by a fireball. While trying to fight the monsters, Aston wonders why his body feels so sluggish, when Umin tells him that they need to abandon the mission or Andres will die. In the end, Aston reluctantly calls off the mission, and they all head outside, where he lashes out at Guile for being a weak bum. However, Umin tells Aston that Guile did his best to protect them with his defense magic, which further enrages Aston, so he tells her to quickly restore Andres' body. Baffled by Aston's demand, Umin tells him that only elite healers can fix Andres, which shocks the idiot, as he starts to realize that things have been going downhill for him since he fired Xenos. So, out of curiosity, he asks Umin if it's possible for someone to be an elite healer but not have a license. Umin states that it's unheard of since a person can only become a healer if they undergo years of training and education. After hearing that, Aston convinces himself that Xenos was nothing more than a peasant. A few days later, Fennel's butler tells Aston that he is disappointed by his lack of effort and orders him to never show up at their doorstep again. While panicking, Aston tells the butler that they failed to bring Lord Fennel a present because of a traitor called Xenos. Confused, the butler asks Aston who's Xenos, and he quickly realizes that he never registered his name in his party because of his low status. So he quickly apologizes to the butler and begs him for a second chance. Later on, Guile asks Aston how they are going to defeat the Firefoxes when they don't have enough members for it. Aston then reveals that he's going to bring back Xenos, who must be dying to join them again. The next day, Aston and Guile enter the slums to find Xenos. However, since the slums are too big for them to search alone, they decide to seek help from the top 3 gangs of the area. Upon entering the Lizardmen's territory, Aston meets Sophia and thinks of adding her to his harem, before telling her to find Xenos. Sophia starts laughing, realizing that he's the one who kicked out Xenos, so she tells Aston to piss off since Xenos has better things to do now. With his ego hurt, Aston crashes out on Sophia until her men surround him, ready to take him down on Sophia's signal. Fortunately for Aston, Sophia allows him to leave before things get bloody. Soon, they arrive at Linga's territory, and when she learns who they are, she tells Aston they should be reincarnated as toilet roaches for what they did to Xenos. After being insulted by Linga, Aston and Guile come to seek Lo We's help, but like before, she tells them to piss off. Stepping outside, Aston and Guile are confused over why all 3 leaders of the demi-human gangs are in love with Xenos. Just then, Guile spots Xenos and Aston runs towards him, telling him that he's here to take him back. At first, he thinks Xenos would kiss his feet in gratitude, so when he tells him that he's not interested, Aston is left shocked. Noticing his desperation, Xenos tells Aston that he can assist him in missions when he's free, but it's going to cost him a pretty penny. Aston is infuriated by Xenos' attitude, so he tells him that he has no place in the slums, until he watches everyone approaching Xenos with love and admiration. Xenos then tells Aston that he ain't coming back, and turns to leave, which further injured Aston's pride, so he runs to attack him. Just then, Krishna arrives and neutralizes Aston, before telling Xenos that he was coming to see him. Seeing them talk, Aston wonders why the vice commander of the Royal Knights is friendly with a peasant like Xenos. Before Krishna can capture Aston, he takes off running, promising to drag Xenos back with him. Later that evening, Xenos has a meeting with his baddies, and they tell him how Aston seemed desperate to have him in his party. Hearing this, Carmela tells Xenos to be careful, since Aston can hire people from the Underworld Guild who will do anything for the right price. That night, as Xenos and Carmela are having a conversation, they hear commotion outside, and after checking, Carmela finds a golem wreaking havoc in the slums, which shocks her since golems are a form of lost demon sorcery. A few hours earlier, Aston meets a mysterious man who calls himself the Guide, and tells him that he wants to take revenge on Xenos and his associates. The Guide immediately takes a liking to the case, and asks Aston what Xenos did to him for him to take such measures. Upon learning everything, the crook tells Aston that he sounds like a loser with no friends, and that's why he likes him. He then reveals a stone and says to Aston that he had been itching to try it out, and now he finally has a good opportunity. In the present, the golem wreaks havoc upon the slums, and Xenos' girls rush to talk strategy with him since their people have been badly wounded in the attack. Xenos immediately gets to work by using a spell called High Heal, which instantly heals everyone. However, the events leave him deeply pissed, as he tells Carmela that he just wants to go home and sleep. Carmela then tells Xenos the situation won't calm down until the golem fulfills the order given to him by his master, which means he'll destroy the entire slum area if that's what his master ordered him to do. While Xenos is crashing out, Carmela states that it's unusual for a golem to even exist in this era, since they're from a time when black magic and demons existed. Left with no choice, Xenos announces that he is going to defeat the golem, and the girls quickly volunteer to help him, despite his warnings. So he gives up and asks Carmela if there is a way to take down the ugly stone. Carmela then instructs Xenos to aim for the core, or else the golem will keep regenerating again and again. However, the greedy pig thinks that if he destroys the core, then he won't be able to sell it on eBay for $2. Shrugging away his stupid thoughts, Xenos tells his cuddle crew to attack the golem while he backs them up. As the girls rush towards the stone monster, Xenos enhances their agility using magic, making them light on their feet. However, since Xenos hasn't fought in a long time, he struggles to help the girls at first, until he starts remembering that for his magic to work better, he needs to be closer to the girls. He then orders them to break the golem's legs, so he can shatter his core. While following Xenos' instructions, the girls note that they never imagined fighting alongside each other, but thanks to Xenos, they can now rely on each other. Just as the trio shatters the golem's legs, Carmela frantically tells Xenos that a girl is hiding inside one of the abandoned houses. Xenos tries to save her before the golem falls on her, but it's too late as the golem crashes into the house. When the dust clears, Xenos finds the golem protecting the girl, which shocks everyone since it's impossible for a golem to do something like this. As Xenos examines the golem, he realizes that Aston is trapped inside it, which explains why he protected the girl. In the meantime, the guide examines the situation from afar and smirks after seeing the look of realization on Xenos' face. As it turns out, the maniac fused a magic stone with Aston's body to bring the golem to life. Watching the scene, the guide bubbles with excitement as he wonders if Xenos will lose his sanity after murdering his ex-party member to save countless lives. Back on the battlefield, Xenos tells the girls to evacuate the area since he wants to talk to Aston man to man. When the girls try to tell him that it's not wise, Xenos agrees with them and says that his master once told him that a healer should never be on the front lines. But today, he's going to break that rule for Aston. Hearing this, the girls agree to respect Xenos' wish and evacuate the scene. As the golem regenerates again, Xenos addresses Aston and calls him a selfish scumbag for what he did to him. However, he reveals that Guile once told him that the reason why Aston is so obsessed with money is that his sister died after he couldn't afford her medication. As the golem starts crashing out, Xenos summons his scalpel and goes ham on the golem until he finally reaches Aston's body. Upon seeing his ugly face, Xenos tells Aston that this is the last time they'll see each other, before cutting him apart. Watching the scene unfold, the Good calls the finale a disappointment, as he wasn't expecting Xenos to murder Aston so easily. Just when he is about to leave, he notices that Xenos is healing and destroying the magic stone stuck inside Aston's body simultaneously. This leaves him deeply impressed, as he knows that if Xenos cuts too much, then he can murder Aston. But if he doesn't cut enough, then the magic stone will keep regenerating until Aston becomes a golem again. When Aston regains consciousness, he asks Xenos why he's doing so much to save him. Xenos then reveals that he has two reasons. Number one, he gave him a gold coin, which helped him save Lily, and they opened a clinic together, which changed his life. Number two, he's a healer who believes in saving everyone. With that, Xenos finally destroys the magic stone inside Aston. Once he's back to normal, Aston apologizes to Xenos, revealing that all his life he used others and ended up getting used by someone in the worst possible way. As Xenos finds Aston kneeling down in shame, he decides to do something that will erase his guilt forever. Gathering mana in his hand, Xenos punches the living daylights out of him, telling him that this is the payback for all that mistreatment. An hour later, Aston is woken up by Krishna, who has come to apprehend him for his crimes. She then tells Aston that Xenos has taken his magic sword with him as a second payback, which depresses Aston, as he tells Krishna that he doesn't have anything left in this world. Just then, Krishna throws a gold coin towards him and reveals that it's from Xenos, which makes the idiot cry his eyes out. Meanwhile, Xenos is left so exhausted that he limps towards his house until his cuddle crew arrives to give him support. Once he reaches home, Lily prepares tea for everyone while the guide decides to disappear deep in the forest, knowing that one day he will clash with Xenos again. The next day, Krishna tells Xenos that she searched everywhere for the guide, but he is nowhere to be found. Zofia adds that the man is extremely shady and prefers working solo, which is not unusual for the underground guild. Krishna then informs Xenos that since the guide has erased his traces, he won't be appearing for a while. However, the other girls think that the guide will return to harm Xenos, and they should be cautious since he may be back with a bigger scheme. Soon, Xenos finds Krishna and the demi-humans butting heads over different theories, so he gets pissed and kicks them all out. Seizing the moment, Lily tries to suggest they should go to a hot spring so she can build a plot with Xenos-sama's wee-wee, when suddenly, Zofia shows up. Cutting Lily off, she states they should go to a hot spring and leaves before Xenos has a chance to process. Just then, Linga appears, says the same thing, and dashes out before Xenos can respond to her. A second later, Lo Wo Wei arrives, and before she can propose the same darn thing, Xenos screams at her that he knows what she's about to say. This makes Lo Wei blush, as she starts believing that she is meant to be with Xenos. Meanwhile, Lily is on the verge of tears, since going to the hot springs alone with Xenos was her plan. Just then, Krishna shows up, and Xenos tells her to remain silent since he knows she's about to LARP about the same thing. Once everyone has paid him a visit, Xenos asks Lily what she wanted to talk about, but she becomes angry and claims the moment has passed. Meanwhile, Carmela had been enjoying the whole scene from above, so she comes down and teases Xenos about how there will be a World War III over his long dawn. The next day, Xenos relaxes at a hot spring, realizing that the girls were right about suggesting this trip. Just then, Zofia shows up, and Xenos immediately gets bricked upon seeing her. Oblivious to this, she tells Xenos that she's tired of waiting for him to make the first move, so she's going to ride his rocket launcher to show him that she likes him. Just when Zofia attacks Xenos, Linga appears and the two start clashing over the meat. Seizing the moment, Lo Wei rises from the water and tells Xenos that it's time for him to try chocolate. While the demi-humans are fighting with each other, Krishna shows up and increases the competition. Xenos, on the other hand, is so tired that he starts screaming at them to go to the woman's bath. Meanwhile, Oomin hears the commotion and wonders if a cultured freak is on the loose. Just then, the demi-humans and Krishna arrive at the woman's bath, and Oomin is stunned to see them coexisting together. When she turns to her side, she finds Lily crying about her lack of jugs until she notices Oomin and her flat chest. This makes her very happy, so she shoots a smile towards Oomin before returning to the hot spring. Noticing her sadness, Carmela assures Lily that flat is justice, and some people actually prefer cups. As Lily thanks Carmela for her kind words, Oomin realizes that she is a wraith and is about to exorcise her, when Carmela says toodles and jumps over to the men's section. Later that night, Xenos has dinner with everyone and returns to his room, all exhausted. Seeing this, Carmela asks Xenos if he is okay, and he reveals that the ladies started a drinking game where the winner would get to have a freaky night with him, so he's just tired of protecting his V-card, which makes Carmela laugh. She then tells Xenos to enjoy these moments because hard times are bound to come. Changing the subject, Xenos asks her how she was able to leave the clinic, and Carmela informs him that she possessed the staff behind him, which is how she got here. While examining the staff, Xenos asks Carmela if she was a witch in the past, but she tells him that she doesn't remember her human life, and Xenos gets the hint that she doesn't want to talk about it. The next morning, a loud explosion wakes Oomin, and when she rushes to the kitchen, she finds the cook lying on the floor. His wife then tells Oomin that the magic stone suddenly exploded while her husband was in the kitchen. Examining the injuries, Oomin starts the first aid, but tells the couple they'll need to go to the royal hospital, and even then, he may never cook again. Just then, Xenos arrives and casually heals the man, which leaves Oomin flabbergasted, since no healer can cure severe burns without magic circles or incantations. Later that day, Oomin gives a lengthy report of what happened at the resort to her superior named Becker. After hearing everything, he tells Oomin they should just let the guy be, until she reveals that he was wearing an ugly black coat. This suddenly gets Becker's attention, so he tells Oomin that he has changed his mind and now wants to meet the guy. At this, Oomin asks how they'll find Xenos, and Becker reveals that they should start their investigation from the slums, since he believes that Xenos may not be a registered civilian. That evening, a lizard man brings Becker to the clinic, who has disguised himself as a sick patient. Seeing his state, Xenos urgently tells everyone to stay back because the disease can be contagious. As he starts scanning Becker, he realizes that his lungs are messed up, which is a common symptom of a disease called red lungs. However, Xenos finds this odd, since the disease was supposed to be wiped out years ago. Having heard enough, Becker praises Xenos for his accurate diagnosis and introduces himself as an elite healer from the Royal Hospital. Just then, Oomin arrives and scolds Becker for making himself sick just to find Xenos. Becker shoots Oomin a guilty look before gulping down an antidote, which surprises Xenos, who then learns that Becker is the one who found a cure to the red lungs disease. Becker then tells Xenos that he came to the hood after learning that there was a healer in a black overcoat. Xenos then reveals that the coat belonged to his teacher, which piques Becker's interest once again. He then tells Xenos to join them at the Royal Hospital as they are dealing with a sensitive problem. Before Xenos can respond, the girls show up, revealing that they saw a red flag hanging from the rooftop. Xenos quickly realizes that Carmela must have alerted the girls, as they tell Becker that they're going to break his bones if they try to take Xenos away. Hearing this, Becker praises Xenos for adding different flavors of girls in his harem, before telling him that he's willing to pay him for this mission. Being the greedy, capitalistic pig that he is, Xenos agrees and tells Becker that he also wants to know more about his master. Several hours later, Xenos arrives at the Royal Hospital with Min and Becker. As it's his first time seeing such an impressive building, he tells Becker that he can't work in an extravagant place since he's from Ohio. Upon hearing this, Becker takes Xenos to his study, where he is about to tell him the reason why he hired him, but Xenos cuts him off and says that he knows it's about the missing people. Becker then tells Xenos that he just has to snoop around under the guise of Xeno, a healer who just returned from abroad. When Xenos asks Becker what will happen when someone tries to investigate him, he assures Xenos that since an elite healer is backing him up, no one will try to mess with him. Later on, Min takes Xenos to his new dorm, where Lily is already waiting for him. Min then reveals that Becker registered Lily as his codependent sister, so they can stay together. Upon hearing the word sister, Lily starts pouting and later tells Xenos to smash her cupcakes. However, Xenos begs Lily to stop it as he doesn't want people calling him a Diddy fan. Just then, Carmela spawns out of thin air and tells Xenos that she is here to annoy him. Sighing in dread, Xenos reminds Carmela that a healer might see her and exorcise her, but Carmela counters that if she worried about such things, she wouldn't be able to annoy him. The next day in the mess hall, Min asks Xenos how things are going, and he reveals that he is trying to figure out a way to get a license. As Min walks him through the process, Xenos tells her that it sounds like a drag, and he'd rather yeet himself than do all that. He then asks Min to tell him more about the missing people, and she starts telling him about an underclass man named Alfred, who helped Becker develop the cure for the red lungs. Hearing this, Xenos wonders if this Alfred is actually Becker's bottom, and that's why he's so desperate to find him. Just then, an angry-looking boomer enters with a team of healers, and Min reveals that he's Professor Goldran, the vice director of the Royal Hospital and a Class 7 healer. Xenos then asks Min to give him the tea on Goldran, and she begins revealing that the fat boomer has the most authority at the hospital, since the director is old and can no longer function properly. Furthermore, since Goldran came into power, people of lower status haven't been able to get proper treatment, as he only prioritizes the rich. In fact, there are rumors that Goldran became a Class 7 healer with the support of some major nobles. After hearing about the shady professor, Xenos states that he wants to stay clear of him, but Min reveals that Goldran is actually one of the suspects in Alfred's case, so he cannot avoid him. Turns out, Goldran had started scouting Alfred for his team, as he wanted all the good students on his team. At that time, Alfred decided to work under Goldran, and that's when he went missing. Min reveals that Goldran swears up and down that he doesn't know what happened to Alfred, but it all appears too shady. After all that LARPing, Xenos asks Min how he should come under Goldran's radar, and she casually tells him to establish himself so Goldran can scout him. Just then, a cocky brat named Crescent comes to bully Min, before turning his attention towards Xenos. After telling him not to be an embarrassment for Becker, Crescent says peace out, and later Min reveals that he's just a rando who got cocky after being scouted by Goldran's team. Later in class, Xenos' new teacher starts talking about the subject of the undead, which takes Xenos to the past when he was living on the streets and learning healing magic under his teacher. From the start, Xenos was eager to prove himself, so he'd practice his skills on the dead, and his teacher would always tell him to leave the dead alone. In the present, Xenos hears the teacher tell everyone that a talking wraith is the most powerful undead there is, so if they ever encounter one, they should run away immediately. This shocks Xenos since he's literally got a busty wraith in his harem. Just then, Crescent tells the whole class that he can defeat 10 undead at once, and asks Xenos if he can do the same. Even though Xenos can take down more than 50 undead, he humbly tells Crescent that he can take down 30 undead, which shocks everyone and annoys Crescent. Later on, the oversmart idiot volunteers to draw a healing circle, and when he gets praised by the teacher, he arrogantly tells Xenos to come up and draw a healing circle. Even though Xenos doesn't use a healing circle, he draws one that was taught to him by his teacher. When Crescent sees the circle, he starts clowning Xenos until the teacher tells the class in disbelief that Xenos has drawn one of the most complex healing circles in history. Soon enough, the word reaches Goldran's ear. However, when he learns that he's a special student, he dismisses the idea of having Xenos on his team, as he only wants people with noble blood. Just then, a messenger reveals to him that a group of undead have been attacking people in the graveyard. Upon hearing this, Goldran assigns a bunch of students along with Xenos to see if he's really all that. That night, as Crescent takes on the ghosts one by one, Xenos uses a spell called High Heal and exorcises all the undead at once, shocking everyone. However, Crescent forces everyone to tell their teachers that it was him who did that. Just as he turns to leave, Xenos states that the fight isn't over yet, as a zombie king appears from the underground, scaring the daylights out of everyone. As the other students push Crescent to save them, he tries to put up a fight, but ultimately the zombie king catches him and squeezes him like a ketchup bottle. Seeing this, Xenos casts a spell called Mega Heal, which instantly terminates the monster. However, instead of being thankful, Crescent rudely tells Xenos that he never asked for his help. After the mission, Xenos returns home and tells Carmela that they faced so much trouble because of her, since the undead are attracted to a more powerful undead. Carmela then asks Xenos if he is going to throw her out, but when he tells her that he'd rather have her by his side, she goes silent before telling Xenos that he's the only one who would want to have a wraith next to him. The next day, Crescent gets praised by Goldran's assistant for single-handedly dealing with the undead. However, Crescent is unable to stomach the fake praise, so he ends up telling the assistant that Xenos was the one who got rid of the undead and the zombie king. Later that day, Becker congratulates Xenos for getting a call from Goldran's faction. While Xenos thinks that his work is done, Becker reveals that he will have to undergo a one-on-one interview with Goldran himself. An hour later, Xenos finds himself in Goldran's office, as the fatty asks him what else he can do other than healing. When Xenos replies that he's just a healer, Goldran scoffs and tells him that he should aim higher since healers can have a lot of power in this kingdom. While Xenos is shocked to hear this, Goldran continues to tell him that he intends to join the aristocracy, but for that to happen, he needs to have talented subordinates under his control. He then asks Xenos to draw the healing circle that he drew in class so he can assess his talents. When Xenos hands him the paper, Goldran goes silent before telling Xenos that he can join his lab from tomorrow. The following morning, Xenos watches Goldran's entourage in the hallway when Crescent pulls him in and states that he owes him his life since he's the reason he made it in the Goldran faction. Thanking Crescent, Xenos asks him why he did him such a big favor, and Crescent casually tells him that he will use him to get closer to Goldran. As they start checking up on the patients, Xenos sneaks in front and sees Goldran using other healers to treat a patient's sprained ankle. Returning to his place, Xenos asks Crescent about it, and he reveals that it's called health transfer magic, where Goldran uses a healer's life force to treat his patients. So, in case there's a patient with a severe injury, Goldran will need to use more healers to treat him. At that moment, Xenos understands why Goldran keeps so many subordinates, and Crescent tells him that it's part of the reason. But the real objective is for Goldran to amass enough votes to become the director of the Royal Hospital. Since Crescent is in a chatty mood, Xenos asks him if he knows about Afred, and Crescent immediately starts scowling before revealing that Goldran invites all his favorites to a special dinner. Afred was also invited, but after the dinner, he vanished without a trace, and Goldran was immensely disappointed, since he had high hopes for him. Later that day, Xenos tells Becker everything that happened, and in response, Becker instructs Xenos to become Goldran's favorite so he can infiltrate these dinner parties. Just then, Becker accidentally drops all his coins on the floor and tells Xenos that if it were him, which coin would he pick first? Bronze, silver, or gold? Before Xenos can answer, Omen comes to take Becker for a meeting, leaving their conversation unfinished. That night, the demi-humans sneak inside Xenos' clinic one by one to sniff his boxers. But after realizing they all had the same idea, they decide to just help Xenos by keeping his home tidy in his absence. The next day, Crescent proudly tells Xenos that he is looking after Goldran's puppy, which means he will get a promotion in no time. Xenos just sighs at his naivety when an ugly man named Bonds comes and lectures Crescent that there's more to life than gagging on Goldran's dong. Once he's gone, Xenos asks Crescent who that was, and he reveals that Bonds used to be Goldran's first assistant, since they were once great friends. However, now Bonds is just an angry drunkard who does nothing but criticize people. Just then, Bonds throws a bottle of booze at Crescent, which scares Goldran's puppy. As she runs towards the road, a carriage hits her and leaves her gravely injured. Fearful for his own life, Crescent does his best to heal the pup, but it's to no avail. That's when Xenos steps in and uses his magic to heal the puppy, which shocks Crescent since there are no signs of scars or bruises. Later that evening, Umin and Xenos take a walk together, where she tells Xenos that if she was any good, then Becker wouldn't have dragged him into this mess. As Xenos assures Umin that he's going to make $1 million out of Becker, she thanks him for cheering her up, and then reveals that Becker is actually her mother's younger brother, so they're actually related. During the conversation, Umin asks Xenos about his teacher, and he tells her that his teacher was like Jurea, but less cultured. When Xenos adds that he owes his life to his teacher, Oomin agrees with the sentiment and reveals that she feels the same for Becker, since he taught her personally, which even resulted in his breakup. So now, she takes care of Becker while doing her research on the process of medicine storage. Oomin admits that it's boring research, but Xenos cheers her up by saying that it's important to care for the boring things since they are often overlooked. Just as Oomin starts blushing and thanking Xenos for his kind words, Crescent rushes towards them and begs them to help him out, as his life is on the line. A few hours earlier, Goldran is having dinner with Lord Fennel, who reveals that his daughter has a rash on her face, which continues to grow daily. Hearing this, Goldran tells Fennel that her daughter might have a disease called odd face, which terrifies the rich noble, so he begs Goldran to do something about it. After dinner, Goldran returns to his office and wonders what he should do, because if he operates on Fennel's daughter, her face will likely be left scarred for life. Even though he can use multiple healers and fix the girl's face using health transfer magic, the problem is that Fennel's daughter doesn't want a lot of people seeing her ugly face. Feeling hopeless, Goldran decides to play with his darling puppy, but on his way out, he learns from Bon that his dog was in an accident. Enraged by this, Goldran pins Bon against the wall until the man assures him that his daughter is fine since the dog sitter fixed her up. Without wasting time, Goldran rushes to see his puppy and is amazed when he finds her in perfect condition despite her accident. In the present, Crescent tells Xenos and Oomin that he has been asked by Goldran to cure Lord Fennel's daughter from odd face. However, Xenos doesn't understand why Crescent is panicking, as the disease can be treated by just cutting the part of the skin that has been affected. Crescent then angrily reminds Xenos that the scarring will leave the girl looking like she's cosplaying as the Joker. When Xenos casually tells Crescent to just make sure there aren't any scars, he freaks out on him and says that he is the only one who can do something like that. So the next day, Xenos accompanies Crescent to Goldran's office, where they are greeted by Lord Fennel, who reveals that his daughter, Charlotte, has locked herself in her room and is refusing treatment. As they all arrive at the mansion, Fennel begs Charlotte to open the door and let the healers in, but she vehemently refuses. Goldran then steps in and tells Charlotte that if she doesn't let them in, her face will never get better. However, Charlotte suspects that someone has appointed Goldran to mutilate her further, so she tells him to piss off. In the meantime, Crescent is plotting to use Charlotte's stupidity to become Fennel's son-in-law, as he tells Xenos that when he heals Charlotte, she will be so rizzed by her that she'll practically beg him to marry her. Instead of stopping him, Xenos further fuels his delusion by telling Crescent to go for it. So he introduces himself to Charlotte, but the moment she hears he's an assistant, she calls Crescent noise pollution and makes him cry. He then tells Xenos that Charlotte is a hoe, and you can't trust these hoes, man. Goldran then looks at Xenos, and he realizes that it's his turn to talk to the snobby Nepo brat, so he tells Charlotte that if she doesn't want the surgery, it's cool with him, which shocks everyone. Ignoring their reactions, Xenos continues, telling Charlotte that if she lets the disease go untreated, her face will eventually turn into an old lady's face. Just as Goldran is about to beat Xenos up, Charlotte opens the door and tells them that she's ready to talk. However, she yells at Goldran that she doesn't want to go under the knife, but she also doesn't want to look like an old lady. Seeing her throw a tantrum, Xenos feels like turning the anime into a sequel of Redo of Healer by giving Charlotte the same treatment Kayaru gave Princess Flare. After throwing a fit, Charlotte runs away, and Goldran signals to Xenos to go after her. He then finds Charlotte sitting outside with her birds, and notices that one of the birds is injured. Charlotte then shares with Xenos that, like the injured bird who'll never fly again, she will also never get to party or live a normal life again. At this, Xenos asks Charlotte if she wants to get better, but she starts yelling at him that there's no way she can ever live a normal life. Furthermore, she tells Xenos to address her with more respect, but the moment Charlotte sees her injured bird flying again, she becomes quiet. While Xenos tells Charlotte that he doesn't care about the noble blood in her veins, as he's just here to heal her. After that, Charlotte agrees to the operation, so they put her under a sleeping drug, and Goldran orders Crescent to perform the surgery, since he still thinks that Crescent fixed his dog. However, Crescent starts shaking in fear, so Xenos tells him to relax, as he will guide him throughout the procedure. However, during the operation, Crescent runs into a complication and shares it with Goldran, who orders him to cut the nerves around the damage. Just as Crescent follows the order, Goldran starts yelling at him and tells Fennel that his stupid assistant has made a major mistake, so they'll have to take Charlotte to the Royal Hospital, where he'll use health transfer magic to fix her up. However, Xenos grows tired of Goldran's dirty politics, so he tells Fennel not to worry, as he will fix Charlotte right here. Shocked, Goldran tells Xenos that he's making a big claim, since regenerating nerves is a very difficult process. Xenos immediately gets to work, fixes up Charlotte's face within seconds, and tells Charlotte that she did well. A few hours later, Charlotte wakes up and is relieved to see her face completely cured. She then recalls Xenos telling her that she did well and develops a crush on him. The next day, Xenos is helping Min carry boxes of Becker's experimental concoctions when Crescent runs up to them and reveals that he and Xenos were invited to Goldran's dinner party. Upon hearing this, Becker congratulates Xenos, revealing that he's the only one who was invited to Goldran's party in such a short time. Later that night, Goldran tells his guests that soon he'll be running for the director's position, and with the support from Lord Fennel, he is surely going to win. Crescent is psyched to hear this, as he tells Xenos they are going to be richy rich, but in response, Xenos tells him to stop getting all buddy-buddy with him. After getting the cold shoulder from Xenos, Crescent goes to suck up to the higher-ups, while Xenos and Lily begin their investigation on a Fred. Approaching Bonds, Xenos asks him if he has heard of a Fred, and he drunkenly reveals that he was a good boy who wasn't uptight like the other brats in the Goldran faction. However, he quickly snaps out of his daze and states that he shouldn't talk badly about Goldran since it's because of him he can live like a carefree bum. As Bonds walks away, Xenos sighs, thinking that he's just another idiot, until Lily tells him that her spidey senses are telling her that Bonds knows more than he's letting on. She then grabs some alcohol and tells Xenos they should get Bonds lit up so he can reveal all his secrets. Shortly after that, Lily starts giving more wine to Bonds until Xenos gets worried for his liver and decides to take Bonds to get some fresh air. However, the old man is so bloody drunk that he mistakes Xenos as Goldran and starts telling him that he's happy for him since he'll finally get to become a big-shot aristocrat. He then adds that it's nice that he got back in Fennel's good books again, which sparks Xenos' curiosity. However, before he can ask further, the idiot blacks out, so Xenos decides to leave the moron outside to get diddled. Once they are back inside, Xenos becomes frustrated at the lack of progress when Carmela appears and reveals that she had been there the entire time. She then tells Xenos that she can help him out, since she is the one who taught Sherlock how to be a great detective. When Xenos excitedly asks Carmela if she's telling the truth, she yells June's fool, leaving Xenos more annoyed than before. Meanwhile, in the slums, the girls are sitting together, missing Xenos, when Zofia tells Linga and Lowaway to go home so she can get high on Xenos' unwashed undies. Before the girls can call her foul, a lizard man named Zonda arrives at the clinic, gravely injured. Upon seeing him, Zofia becomes worried, because it turns out Zond is her brother. Seeing her so worried, Linga suggests they take Zond to Xenos, but Zofia is reluctant, as she doesn't want to blow Xenos' cover. However, Linga convinces her by saying that Xenos will be furious with her if Zonde dies because of her hesitance. Meanwhile, back in his room, Carmela reveals that 13 years ago, a mysterious explosion took place. Before the incident, Goldran was nothing more than an average researcher, but afterward he suddenly rose to fame as a renowned professor at the Royal Hospital. When Xenos suggests that Goldran earned his reputation by healing Fennel, Carmela dismisses the idea, arguing that someone of Goldran's mediocre skill could never have performed such flawless treatment without leaving behind scars or complications. That's when Lily pieces everything together, revealing that someone else must have healed Fennel after the explosion, and Goldran simply stole the credit. As for Bonds, he likely witnessed the truth, which would explain why Goldran continues to bankroll his extravagant lifestyle in exchange for his silence. Xenos admits that he still can't figure out why a Fred suddenly disappeared, so Lily suggests that Bonds may have gotten drunk during the dinner party and accidentally revealed the truth to a Fred just as he had done with Xenos. She guesses that either Afreed went into hiding after learning the truth or was silenced by Goldran. Just then, Crescent interrupts the conversation to tell Lily they are handing out lollipops. Once Lily leaves with Crescent, Xenos suspects that Goldran must have played a part in healing Fennel by draining the life forces out of those who had been injured during the explosion. And if Afred found this out, he must be up to something. Just then, Xenos notices a commotion outside and finds his Cuddle crew fighting the guards to come inside. Upon noticing him, Zofia apologizes profusely, but reveals that Zonda's life is at risk. As Goldran finds Xenos communicating with the demi-humans, he gets pissed off and tells him that he won't forgive him if he has ties with the lesser being. Xenos tells him to piss off and runs off with Lily to help his friends. Seeing this, Goldran scoffs and tells Crescent not to ruin his life like Xenos, but he ignores him and follows Xenos, realizing that it's his duty to protect the innocent. In the meantime, Xenos heals Zond and tells Zofia that she shouldn't feel guilty, since his mission had come to an end anyway. Just then, Crescent arrives, but when he finds Zond all healed up, he starts regretting his decision, until Min arrives and says that she was so impressed by him that she might just let him crack. The next day, Zenos tells everything to Becker and reveals that a Fred once told him about being caught in a major accident 13 years ago. He then tells Min and Zenos that Alfred must be cooking something for Goldrin's election party, which is held tomorrow, so he will personally go to make sure Alfred doesn't do something stupid. That evening, Min throws Zenos a going-away party, which quickly turns into Crescent's pity party, as he cries after learning the truth about Zenos. Once everyone is blackout drunk, Carmela finds Zenos sitting alone in a corner, and asks him why he looks sad. Zenos admits that all his life people have treated him like crap for being from the slums, but Min and Crescent treat him with respect, so he's just a little sad to say goodbye to them. The next morning, Min takes Zenos to Becker's office so she can give him the letter regarding his teacher. However, after looking inside the envelope, Zenos gets a huge shock while Becker stands at the banquet, surrounded by a group of unconscious people, including Goldran. A few hours earlier, Goldran is greeted by Lord Fennel, who congratulates him on becoming the upcoming director. In response, Goldran thanks Fennel for providing him with the funds required to win the seat. Once the aristocrat walks away, Goldran thinks about how long it took for him to get there. 13 years ago, when he was coming back home, he noticed an explosion and found Fennel's unconscious body. At that moment, he thought that if he healed one of the 7 aristocrats who run the kingdom, then he would be set for life. So, without a second thought, he started using other people's life force to heal Fennel. Unfortunately, Bond saw him doing that, and therefore he was forced to bankroll his life. Just then, Becker comes to congratulate Goldran and offers him a bottle of wine. During the conversation, Goldran tells Becker how one of his special students, Zeno, threw away his entire life to save a couple of demi-humans, which is unacceptable in his eyes since not all lives are equal. In the present, Zenos and Min look at the picture taken 13 years ago by Bonds. Min then notices Afrid and a young woman, and after seeing her in the picture, she gets shocked. Meanwhile, Goldran wakes up, and when he finds everyone unconscious, he asks Becker what happened. So he casually tells Goldran that he mixed poison in the alcohol, and in 2 hours he will be sipping tea with Aaron Yeager. Flabbergasted by this, Goldran asks Becker why he would do such a thing, and he reveals that 13 years ago, he sacrificed innocent people to save a noble. Among them was a Fred, and his fiancée, who lost her life because of him. As Goldran finds himself at a loss, Becker reveals that he has recreated the scene from 13 years ago, and forces Goldran into an impossible choice: save himself, save Fennel, or save the loyal followers who have stood by his side. Upon hearing this, Goldran begs Becker to give him an antidote, and in response, Becker chugs down the poisonous wine before telling Goldran that he can save his life if he believes he has the antidote. As Goldran starts panicking, Becker tells him that he is losing time, because if people start dying, then he won't be able to suck their life force. Getting back on his feet, Goldran immediately starts transferring his subordinate's life force into himself. Seeing this, Becker tells Goldran that his dose of poison was weaker than others, which means that he could have saved more people using his life force. Goldran, however, scoffs at the idea and states that he is more valuable than the other healers. Just then, Zenos arrives with Min and Crescent, and after witnessing the crime scene, Min breaks down. She asks her uncle why he would do such a thing, and Becker reveals that after he lost his fiancée, he was riddled with grief, but continued living and saving lives because that's what his girl wanted him to do. However, everything changed when Alfred found out the truth and told him everything before disappearing. He simply couldn't bear the thought that the person he was supposed to marry had been murdered. However, since he didn't have solid proof against Goldran, he hired Zenos to find a Fred and confirm Goldran's involvement. After hearing Becker's explanation, Crescent angrily points out that he has poisoned countless innocent people who had nothing to do with him or his fiancée, just to punish Goldran. Impressed by Crescent, Zenos reminds Becker of the question he asked earlier about which coin he would choose to save first. As a healer, Zenos gives his answer without hesitation that he would save everyone, because protecting lives is his only job. With that said, Zenos casts a healing spell on everyone, and shocks Becker since this is the first time he's seen someone heal so many people at once. Noticing his reaction, Zenos tells Becker that since he didn't have a proper schooling, he's just doing what he has known the best. As Becker starts to feel guilty, he tells Zenos that he couldn't tolerate a scum like Goldran rising to the top after murdering countless people, so he became obsessed with punishing him. However, after seeing him, Min, and Crescent desperately save people, he has realized that his fiancée's spirit lives on, and he now regrets tarnishing her memory like this. Once everyone has been healed, Goldran yells at Zenos to save him, but he tells the old pig that it's going to cost him extra, which ticks him off. so he asks his subordinates to help him, but they tell Goldran that even though they were poisoned, they heard what he said. To make matters worse, Fennel tells Goldran that he's pulling back his support, leaving him completely alone. So he tells Xenos that he'll pay and begs him to save his life. A few days later, Xenos and Omen come to visit Becker in the prison. With Krishna present, Becker reveals that he never intended to poison anyone. His original plan was to paralyze everyone and scare Goldran into thinking he was poisoned so he would confess his crimes. However, given how everyone was poisoned, Becker believes that someone, most likely Alfred, tampered with his drug, turning it into a lethal poison. Upon hearing Becker's side, Krishna assures Omen and Xenos that she will make sure to reduce Becker's sentence in exchange for getting back shots by Xenos. With everything settled, Xenos turns to leave when Becker tells him that he believes a Fred died in the incident, which means the person he encountered is actually someone else using a Fred's name. Xenos admits that he thought the same, and Becker tells him to be careful, since this poser may come after him for ruining his plan. That night, the guide curses Xenos for ruining his plan once again, and begins working on a new plan, this time with Xenos as the target. Do you think Xenos will be able to survive the guide's attack? Comment heal if you want to know what happens next, and as always, like and subscribe for more.